It's big plays.
What a play!
Bad days.
I bet this guy's into the woods $100.
And parlays.
That's the one. Parlay.
Big plays, bad days, and parlays on Hurrdat Sports.
Here to place a wager.
It's big plays, bad days, and parlays. It seems like it's been forever since we've been here on the airwaves with you, Troy Aldridge, Andrew Rogers. Thank you for joining us. First order of business, I want to say we don't have James on this show right now, and that is because my schedule has become such a lopsided schedule opposed to his, and we just aren't able to make the times work right now. But when James is available, anytime he's coming back on the show, you'll hear his plays because his plays have been better than mine lately. So it's always better to have somebody that wins.
He does have some fire plays, I will say that.
And he, as Troy can probably attest to, he numerous NHL bets just this past week. So keep following James on Twitter.
Yeah, he's doing fine. Don't you guys don't need to worry about him, man. He's doing okay.
Yeah, you know what? He's actually off the show because he got a better job at a bigger studio, and he's on a bigger network now. Let's just say that. No, James, of course, we miss him, but the show goes on no matter what. Now, the holiday weekend also kept us off the air, but that's okay because I'm sure.
Yeah, I had a great family time.
Yeah, what everybody was doing, you weren't overly concerned about this podcast, but if you were, hey, we apologize. We're back, though. We're here for you. But, Troy, give me your best play over the last 2 weeks, and then follow that up with your baddest beat.
Okay. Oh, we have plenty of the baddest beats. I don't know which one I'm going to pick. You got to give me a second. But actually, yesterday, I don't know. I've switched over to FanDuel recently. If you listen
why'd you do that?
To the other podcast, I've switched over to FanDuel because, I don't know what they would do what DraftKings would do if I deposited money, so I'm not even going to try. FanDuel's fine.
Money, it goes straight to zero.
I'm having fun. There's some nooks and crannies that I just have to work my way around. I'm complaining just because I'm not used to it, but it'll be fine. But I don't really know how their promos work, but for some reason, yesterday I got a $100 bet. So I see that at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Are you sure I wasn't a part of that $100 bet?
Listen, I don't know where it came from. I do not.
Hey, I've been riding Troy lately, and all of a sudden, the $100 free bet just lasts with him.
That is fair. That is fair.
I don't know.
So you should have got one too. You got to go bet, man. $100 free bet. That's like the second one I've ever had.
Man.
Anyways, whatever. And so I see that at 8 o'clock. So I'm in where I can bet till 3. So obviously I'm waiting till the last second. So I just throw some hockey guys together and it ends up paying off. I tried to pick guys that I thought were locks. I started the day with Marchand, who wasn't a lock. He got the empty netter with about 30 seconds left.
Unbelievable.
Perfect. Brock Nelson, he got an assist pretty early. Troy Terry, also a goal in the third period.
That Nelson assist too was part of the only Islanders goal that game.
Yes, and it came early.
Mm-hmm.
Their game started 30 minutes later, and his point came before Marchand's. It was pretty crazy. And then I ended the night needing a Kempe point, and that game was 9-8. You could have done anyone, but Schwartz, of course, the jersey I'm wearing. He was like the only one on both teams that did not get a point. But I used that $100 free bet, won $530.
That's a win.
It's a good win.
That's a big win. And then give me your baddest beat now.
Well, I listened to some of my friends on some soccer, and I don't know anything. I despise that they can tie. I think it's just insane to me. Even though it's qualifying rounds, I don't know how you can take ties into consideration, but you can bet on it. That's what they said to me. You can bet on it if you think they're going to tie. I can bet the tie. So I bet on Brazil and Portugal. I think it was Brazil that had a late goal, didn't they? Like the 80th something minute.
You would know just as much as me in that game.
I thought they were tying for sure, but those two pull it off. I did McDavid 1.5. And for some reason, my mind went in the way of betting on Riley Smith for the Las Vegas Knights. He hasn't been very hot. I liked his odds. I do like Riley Smith, but unfortunately he couldn't come through for me.
Yeah, for me, I didn't have a lot of parlay wins. I did have college football wins. I went 14-7 in college football over the past 2 weeks, which is very good. So hopefully you were following along with those individual bets. But let me tell you, this is funny. This is real.
I'll let you tell the Najee Harris bad beat.
Yeah, this is funny too. Not only the Najee Harris bad beat, but I want to give a soccer bad beat here. So I bet live that Enner Valencia would score the second goal of that match. And he did at plus 700. And then all I needed was Harry Kane to score a goal against the U.S. at any time. At any time in that game, all I needed was a goal by Harry Kane. Game ends 0-0. On top of that, Troy, this was a parlay that I had. I had Brazil under 2.5 goals against Serbia, which hit. Mm-hmm. I did a England money line against the U.S., but they missed.
Oh, they tied? Oh, I thought you meant the last game. My bad.
I did a same-game parlay with the Netherlands-Ecuador. I doubled down on Valencia, and I bet the tie in that game. So that was plus 850. That hit, Brazil hit, and England died. So I missed out on a couple of soccer plays there. Also, I had first goals from Marner at plus 1,400 and Troy Terry at plus 1,100. Marner hits. Troy Terry does not. And then lastly, Troy mentioned it, Najee Harris. So Najee was, first off, I have a bone to pick with him because he ended up in the end zone before any of our first touchdown scorers that game.
Yes. Also, you're right. Yes,
and then goes out before he hits his prop for us. And once I saw that he went out, I just disregarded the bet entirely. But Troy was watching it still.
Naturally.
And in that bet was a Michael Pittman touchdown, a Najee Harris touchdown. It was the prop for Najee. It was a Jonathan Taylor prop and touchdown, right?
Correct. 3 touchdowns. Yep.
And what was the last prop in there? Was it Pittman receiving or something?
Mm-hmm.
So Pittman had probably it was probably 60.5 for receiving yards. And I think he ended with 61.
Yes. And he hit that late in the game.
He also got a touchdown late in the game.
He did score.
And Najee scores, has 35 rush yards early. All you needed was 50, and he goes out of the game. And that is the only leg that missed because Jonathan Taylor, of course, had a big game.
Yeah, I did like 60 yards. He had like almost 90.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and got into the end zone. So, man, the parlay gods really did their work on me this past week and weekend. But at least it was the sign of good things to come. That's how I'll put it. Because lately my parlays weren't even getting close. And now they're getting close.
Yes, they are.
So I'm looking at this as a stairway to heaven, right? I'm getting there. We'll make some magic this week. Now,
all it takes is one.
All it takes is one, man. All it does. Now, on this day in history, which I found this out today, one of the best sports calls of all time was said.
56-yarder. Does not have the leg. And Chris Davis takes it in the back of the end zone. He'll run it out to the 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 45. There goes Davis. Oh, my God. Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game. Auburn's going to win the football game. He ran the missed field goal back. He ran it back 109 yards. They're not going to keep him off the field tonight. Holy cow. Oh, my God. Auburn wins. Auburn has won the Iron Bowl. Auburn has won the Iron Bowl in the most unbelievable fashion you will ever see. I cannot believe it. 34-28. And we thought a miracle in Jordan Hare was amazing. Oh, my Lord in heaven. Chris Davis just read it. 109 yards. And Auburn is going to the championship game. You got plans next week, my friend? We'll be in Atlanta. Oh, my God.
It's fantastic.
Never in all my days have I seen anything like that. Do you say this is
The most epic Iron Bowl in history. Oh my goodness, they're storming the
He's so tired.
They can't let him off. They can't be denied.
Hats off to
Dude, the color analyst in that call hysterically wheezing as the play-by-play guy is giving the call. He's like,
All he could say, yeah.
Oh my God.
I tell you what, Chris Davis eats and drinks for free anywhere he goes for the rest of his life.
At least in that town.
Well, 100%.
War Eagle. War Eagle. Gosh, like I said, college football, it's a great segue here. Was nice to me. 14-7 over the last 2 weeks, all solo bets. My parlays got close, but Boston College really screwed me against Notre Dame. They didn't even show up and play football.
No, they did not.
And Kansas didn't do anything against Texas. And then, what was it, this past weekend? Let me dive back and see, because there was one leg that, to me, was a lock. It was Arkansas minus 2.5 against Mizzou.
That boned to me as well.
And Mizzou, man, like, they are just so spotty. Like, this is a team that got cooked, and no pun intended, Brady Cook, cooked last season in their bowl game. Absolutely cooked. It wasn't like this team was a total page turner. Like, this was a similar team that we saw last year. And they finished out the season very, very strong.
Arkansas had just beaten someone really good the week before. Smoked them. I don't remember who it was, but they were like plus 100 going into the game, and they just annihilated them. I can't remember who it was, though.
Before this game, you said?
Yes.
They beat Ole Miss.
Yes.
Yeah, it was like a 41-27 win. Yeah,
they
and they were
great.
underdogs against LSU, too, and covered that game. So Arkansas has been doing their job covering.
Yeah.
I thought I'd ride it against Mizzou. Why not?
Wisconsin also boned me.
That team is...
I didn't know that running back was hurt.
Yeah, Braylon Allen's been hurt most of the year, and they've been limiting his carries. But how about Wisconsin getting Luke Fickell, Cincinnati head coach? Not too shabby. Good hire for them. Kind of, I always say this. I've been saying it on Coffee and Cream in the morning. Kind of a panic hire, in my opinion. Wisconsin saw that Nebraska nabbed Matt Rule when they could, first coach off the market, and now all of a sudden it was like, we have to get our guy, right? We have to secure somebody. And I'm shocked they went away from Jim Leonard. Jim Leonard was kind of the guy waiting in line. I don't know if he'll stick around and be defensive coordinator again or if he'll go somewhere else. He had offers to go to the NFL last season. Wouldn't shock me if he makes his path to the NFL now. But before we get into our locks, we had one of the best calls in history just played right there at the start of the show. But that's not my favorite, nor is it Troy's favorite. So let's play ours. Troy, yours first. Yours came in a sport you actually got a scholarship in.
Strike to claim it. A strike to claim it. And he got it!
Another 5. Are you kidding me? That's right. Who do you think you are? I am.
Damn it, Ryan.
Pete Weber.
Love that guy.
What a ice in the vein moment, right?
It was.
Because this crowd they were getting after him.
He was having issues actually with a dude, like, because they sit over to the left of him, and he was actually, I remember it so vividly, it's crazy. He was actually like standing up and moving while Pete was bowling, trying to mess him up. So when he blew up like that, and he said it wrong, but he was really talking.
Who do you think you are? I am. What was that supposed to say? I remember somebody going back, or Pete Weber at least going back.
He had an interview where he talked about it.
Who do you think you are? I am. Like,
it was like,
who do you think you are? I'm
like,
the best.
You'll never be me.
Yeah, I'm
that
the best.
guy.
Yeah, or something.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Oh man, that was so awesome.
But you're right, because bowling etiquette, of course, is when somebody is going. What's the proper term? Throw? Is that?
Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah, when somebody's going to throw, nobody, like, if you are in a mass bowling alley, technically, if you're lane to lane next to somebody, don't go up there if somebody's already making their motion to throw.
Yep. 100%.
But I want you to tell your scholarship story now, because I alluded to it, and I want you to tell people. This guy gets away with everything that involves robbing, like stealing money. It's so funny. But it's not stealing money. It's beating the system, essentially.
Yes.
It's a way. It's almost like when you have an LLC, right? And it's a way to defer taxes at the end of the day. And
Right.
Troy's kind of like, that's how he like looks at mapping out his money in different
to figure it
situations.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But go ahead, tell your story.
So when I graduated in 15, I had no clue where I was going. That summer, I decided to reach out to Lindenwood. I knew they had a great bowling program. I had heard from other friends that they give a lot of scholarship money. You know, they're a debt-free school. They compile, and for some reason, when you're not in an NCAA sport, they compile your sports with your academics. It's like, I'll give it a shot. I reached out to the bowling coach, really nice guy. He got back to me so quickly. I ended up having a tryout like 2 or 3 weeks later. I hadn't bowled in a month or two, but I was like, I'll give it a shot. I know how to do it. It's not hard. I've been doing it for long enough. Bowled fantastic. Like probably through 2 games in front of him, it was probably like 236 and 245.
Unbelievable scores.
Yeah, and he's having me move all over the lane, trying to get me to throw different patterns, just seeing what I can do. I mean, you've alluded to it. God works in mysterious ways, man. Like, that was insane. Like, my ball was just doing exactly what it was supposed to do. Anyways, so he's like, after I bowl, he's like, yeah, we'll get back to you in a week or two. We'll maybe make an offer. We'll see what happens.
And you didn't even think anything of it. You didn't really care either. This was just another way for you to afford the education.
Yes, exactly. Just be able to go to school, and it is what it is. So a couple weeks later, they come back with like 10 grand. That's like half.
10 grand.
Lindenwood at
10
the
grand
time,
for the year, right?
Yes.
Or 4
each
semesters.
year. No.
Okay.
I would get that 10 grand every single year I bowled.
But during this time, the bowling team was a student life sport. And
It was.
in student life sports, you actually don't get NCAA scholarship money.
It was
You
a
get
grant. It actually
money.
wasn't correct. So it was a grant given to me. And again, you just listen to stuff. I don't know any of this, but I'm listening to other people. And I actually heard it from a cheerleader at first, because they were also just student life.
Student
at the
life,
time.
yep.
And they had told me that once they give you a grant and combine it with your academics, that they can no longer take it away. So listen, I loved bowling. None of my friends bowled. I bowled because both my parents were insanely good bowlers. And I lived in a bowling alley.
We also went bowling every Thursday for an entire year.
And it was so fun bowling with you guys. It's totally different bowling, trying to take it serious, and then just having a good time with friends.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So
it wasn't my favorite thing to do. So I did the freshman year tryouts. I bowled okay. There was some great bowlers. I didn't do great. It was probably middle of the pack, but that's really all I wanted to do. I wanted to focus on my grades. I wanted to focus on my social life. So my freshman year we go through. I only did the tryouts. I didn't do for the travel team. I didn't go to any of the leagues. I just told them I wanted to focus on my grades. Well, I get to my sophomore year and I don't really want to bowl. So I talked to the bowling coach, and I'm just like kind of confirming that it was a grant. There's nothing they can do if I want to focus on my grades. And he straight up told me that he doesn't think there's any way that they'll take it away. So,
so you walked out of there with your head held high?
The rest of my 3 years there, I never bowled, but I continued to get that money every single year.
Maybe a breakfast club fist in the air?
Who's your daddy now?
Yeah.
I just want
It was, and like I said, it just worked out great. Yes, I beat the system. They no longer do that.
Yeah.
The biggest scholarship bowling gives out now is like 5. And that's to the good ones.
Troy, yes, there's probably a bylaw in there that's called the Troy Aldridge bylaw that you can't do this. But at the same time, I'm not Mr. Innocent either, because when I rushed a fraternity, that I didn't really have time to be a part of, for one. but 2 thought I really fit in with, but then found out that I fit in with another organization more. Mm-hmm. And the fraternity I rushed was Phi Delta Theta, and thankfully I was such a busy, like I was a busy boy. Like that's kind of
100%
my mindset for one. But like I was broadcasting freshman year on at Lindenwood. Like that was my thing. I went to school to broadcast, and I was going to do every high school football game, basketball game that I could get my hands on. And I was broadcasting a Friday night football game the night of initiation, I think is what it was. So I signed a bid, but I never got initiated. And then I was playing like softball with Troy and a bunch of our other buddies, and come to find out there was a member of our fraternity. I'm in Phi Lambda Chi, or I'm an alumnus of Phi Lambda Chi, that was supposed to reach out to me but never did, which is why I didn't give Phi Lambda, well, it was actually Phi Lambda Phi at the time of day.
Yes.
And then it became kind of this whole like weird thing, not only with the school itself, like the interfraternity council, but also the fraternity itself, because there were people that were like, I don't know what, like if he's really one for us and one for all, or if he's one for all, and then the IFC is like, you can't do this, you signed a bid, but then there was nothing in there about if you didn't get initiated, you couldn't change.
Because they were so close together that it just rarely happened.
Right,
yeah.
and long story shorter, now, I'm a member of Phi Lambda Chi, and there's definitely another bylaw that was written about me that said you can't do that.
We made it.
You can't do that. And I was on IFC and made that bylaw. Do you remember you were president of IFC at one point?
Again, it makes no sense.
President, man. You didn't do anything.
No?
You did. You was a study hall for you.
I did. Yes, I did one thing, and it was because UNC was playing in the national championship game. Mm-hmm. So I made a little get together for that, and that's all.
And nobody showed up. It was just you and me. Nobody showed.
Yeah,
and we just watched it, and it was great.
And it was the game winner that Villanova hit.
Yeah, because Marcus Page sent it, or was about to send it to overtime.
Yeah.
With his acrobatic shot from the red line.
Yep,
dude. I mean, what a stunner that was, a stinger too at the same time. But yeah, I mean, just sorry we went off on that tangent, but IFC was some weird thing. And I got to say this too, one more. Do you remember the time that because I was on the recruiting side of IFC. Right. So I had to set up Rush Week. Yes. And I got inflatable laser tag.
Yes.
And it was all signed up, ready to go. And then our head of Greek Life, is that how you would identify Christopher?
Absolutely.
Head of Greek Life goes, hey, Andrew, just check and make sure it's coming. And I'm like, well, I scheduled it. I have paperwork that says it's coming. And I called. Thank God I called, because they're like, we don't have the inflatable laser tag with us. And the hell that I had to go through to try to put together a Rush event without inflatable laser. Do you remember they showed up and tried to make a makeshift course with what they had?
I do remember that.
And people were all getting on me for saying that we had this big thing taking place, and then it didn't end up happening. And I'm like, what do you want me to do? Like, they didn't show up with it. Like,
right.
We got all that for free. We ended up not using any money. They refunded us, but still came out with that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take away. They're right. It doesn't take away the fact that, that Rush event didn't go the way as planned. But man, I was so happy we only did that for 1 year. We also did grounds for a year. And that's how Troy and I became really good friends.
Thank God we both did grounds, yeah.
Because we would get up at the ass crack of dawn and go grab our buckets for trash and walk right to breakfast, sit down for 2 hours and watch.
2 donuts. Right? 2 donuts every single day.
2 donuts and a hot chocolate or some type of hot drink.
Some coffee or some shit.
And then we would kill time literally for 2 hours. We would kill.
It was an hour and a half.
Kill time. And then we would pick up trash on the way. We did pick up trash. We picked up trash on the way there and on the way back.
Correct. 100%. When we saw trash, we picked it up.
And then it sucked whenever we got paired with people, because we had to convince them to do the same thing with us.
When it got to the point where we go, we'll take Old Side. We'll take Old Side, because we knew that's what the breakfast place was. We wouldn't even let them pick. We'll take Old Side.
Yeah. We're like, we like to climb the hill by Scheidegger, so
it was.
We'll take Old Side. Oh my!
It's such a good time, man. It was amazing. Everything worked out. It was
I miss
perfect.
college, man. Man, okay, we got way off topic there. Let's dial back in.
All right, so what do we got here? We got to hear your
So now
favorite call?
my favorite call, and this one came back in 2008, and I probably watch this race over and over once a year.
Look at the world record, a three-time Olympian. World record is absolutely going to be shattered here. The United States trying to hang on to second. They should get the silver medal. Australia is in bronze territory right now, but Lizak is closing a little bit on Bernard. Can the veteran chase him down and pull off a shocker here?
Well, there's no doubt that he's tightening up.
Bernard is losing some ground. Here comes Lizak. Unbelievable at the end. He's done it. The U.S. has done it. He did it. He did it. He did it. Phelps' hopes alive.
So, 2008, Beijing, Michael Phelps wins how many gold medals? What was it, 8, right? 8 gold medals, 10 gold medals?
At least.
I think it was 8 gold medals, and that was a record. Like, nobody's going to ever touch that. 8 gold medals. And what a relay that was, watching Jason Lezak, the veteran, as was stated, come all the way back against Bernard and the French national team. And France was talking so much crap before this race. Like, they were in the papers saying how they were going to smash the U.S. So this was like a huge moment, not only for U.S. history, but world history, because everybody saw that headline on paper.
Right.
But yeah, dude, I mean, thrilling, chills. I mean, it's why I love that moment. You could call it an American-made moment. And another American-made moment came yesterday.
Austin McKay, Des making a big run. It's meant for him. Des is stuck in behind. Des into the middle. Pulisic scores! Might have paid the price.
Fuck that guy.
See, this is funny because Troy texted me and goes, hey, what do you think of England money line, U.S. money line, and Pulisic to score? And I said, let's do it. Let's ride. And I figured he just did it because anytime Troy texts me about something, he'll end up doing it. And in this case, he didn't do it. And guess what happened yesterday? I bet you can. England won, the U.S. won, and Pulisic scored.
First, too.
Yep. So, thank you, Troy.
I'm going to be honest. I have to blame Gavin for that one because he just, I don't know. Like you said, anytime I say something, I usually do it. We had a rough day the day before, and it was at like 1 o'clock.
Right when the game was about to start.
I pitched out.
That's
100%.
Right. It's okay. Let's get into our locks. And in the words of Trent Dilfer,
you cannot lose games in the NFL and still win. So if New England...
Yep, you're absolutely right, Trent. great use of your words there. You cannot lose games in the NFL, or you can lose games in the NFL if you don't win. So,
nice word.
Great word. Yeah, Trent Dilfer actually going to be the new UAB college football coach. So, go Dragons! You guys got a winner.
He won a Super Bowl with the Ravens, so anybody can win a Super Bowl. They proved that.
Yeah, yes they can. Yes,
Mike
they
White.
can.
Look out.
Whoa, yeah, don't sleep on Mike White and the Jets. That defense could carry them to the playoffs. But let's go into Thursday night football first, and we'll stick in the AFC. And how about we go to the Northeast? Bills, Patriots, an interesting game on the docket. You know, you look at the Bills, and they're only 3.5-point favorites in this game. Now, the Patriots have a very good defense, but offensively, the Patriots can either score 27 points or 10 points. There's no in between. And I can understand why the line is 3.5. Josh Allen just frankly hasn't been good lately. I know he's been injured, but even before he got injured, he was making mistakes at his age now and his maturity level as an NFL quarterback he should not be making. Forcing throws, not being patient enough. And it's obvious that the Bills, as Josh Allen goes, the Bills' offense goes. They just don't want to use the run game at all, which they should. Devin Singletary is a beast and has been this year. James Cook, you drafted him in the 3rd round and just don't even want to give him any opportunity to be good. So, that could be the Bills' kryptonite down the stretch of the season and even into the playoffs. But in this game, I can't see myself fading the Bills. You stay away from the Patriots in this offense.
I would agree. I did a couple touchdowns. I think I usually try to do 2-1 based off the team that I think's going to win. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it doesn't go that way. Sometimes I get lucky. So I think Stevenson gets in.
I was going to say, are you going to get boned by Stevenson again?
Yes, I will. I don't really like. Do you like anyone else on that offense?
The only people that I really like are Jacoby Myers and Hunter Henry. Those two are the only two that I like outside. I would say Hunter Henry more just because of his recent production and the fact that he should have had 2 touchdowns last week.
Yeah, I agree.
So
maybe I don't hate Hunter Henry.
But if you're going with the best player, the most likely player to score, that's Ramondre. Because has he not scored in 2 weeks now?
At least one.
Mm-hmm. At least
I don't know.
Okay. So him, and I'm assuming you're probably pairing that with Diggs and let's go with Singletary.
No, I am going to do Gabe Davis.
Gabe Davis and Josh Allen.
Yeah,
so the complete opposite. I don't hate that. Josh Allen at night, 11-3 straight up, 10-4 against the spread. On Thursdays, he's 4-0 straight up, 3-1 against the spread. And his only ATS loss was this Thanksgiving when he played at Ford Field. And on Thursday Night Football, Josh Allen just overall 2-0 straight up and 2-0 ATS. So Bills road games are 6-0 to the under in 2022 as well. I actually said that, if you don't remember. I said I liked the Bills under going into Thanksgiving football, so hopefully you paid attention to that nugget before
it was close,
the Thanksgiving games.
Because it was like 56.5.
Yeah, it got to 54, I think. I believe that's what it ended
54.5. That's insane.
Because I actually hit all 3 that day. I did Bills under 56, and it was 54, and that's what it closed at. It closed at 54.5, and so it's still at the under, but I actually had a 2-point buffer. Then it was the Cowboys game against whom? The Giants?
Yes.
I took the Giants plus 10. Yeah, yes. Giants plus 10. Backdoor
cover was huge. Insane.
Massive. Thank you very much. Micah Parsons was pissed. I love it. And then I had Kirk Cousins taking down the Pats, right? That's who it was?
Yeah, probably 2.5.
2.5. And that covered. So
yes,
I hit.
It was a sweat, but they covered.
Mm-hmm. I hit on Thursday, and that was a very good hit for me. So I forgot about that one. That was a big win for me. But then I ended up losing all of that.
I did the same thing. I live bet the Bills and then did that exact same thing. Plus 10.5, minus 2.5.
Mm-hmm. So both of these teams are playing on Thanksgiving rest. So they both have a week off, right? I don't know if they filled their bellies too. I know the Bills probably did because they had the 11 o'clock game. Or 11:30.
Too.
Yep, and they won. They did win. Check this out too. The most profitable quarterbacks against the spread versus Bill Belichick the last 20 years.
Whoa.
Eli Manning is 5-0 against the spread. Geno Smith is 4-0 against the spread.
Oh my God.
Tua is 4-0 against the spread. And Josh Allen is 5-2-1 against the spread. So I would take the Bills minus 3.5 in this matchup. If you like touchdowns, I think Diggs is an absolute lock. His odds are going to suck. I don't even know what they're at, but they're going to suck.
I haven't looked either.
And I would probably just stick with 2 touchdowns and go with Diggs and Hunter Henry because Hunter Henry should have good odds. So if you want to balance out Diggs is minus 140 or whatever it's going to be sitting at in the same game parlay. That's what I would do. Now, NHL also takes place on Thursday night. And, Troy, you like a trio of 1.5s.
I've hit a few on Thursday. I think I went hit and then miss, but now we're back. Mm-hmm. We're going to get back at it. The Avs play, so I'm going to take Nate 1.5, 100%. I think they play the Sabres. They give up a decent amount of goals. I think that's pretty safe. I'm going to do Cooch. I don't remember who they have, but Nikita Kucherov will get 2 points. He's been feasting. And I mean, every night McDavid doesn't get 2 points, it's crazy. He's all, like you said, we've talked about it before. He's always minus now because the league just knows that he's just going to shred through those defenses. So Nate, Kucherov, McDavid, 1.5.
I love it because
just points.
All three of those guys are top dogs in the NHL.
Yes.
I would give some NHL plays, but I'm not going to because the ones I would give you won't win. So I'm going to stick with Troy and ride his 1.5s because the way things have been going for me as of late have not been good on the NHL front, and I'm better off riding people at this moment in time. So Thursday happens, Friday moves into Saturday, and Saturday, of course, is college football. That's my realm, and that's where I'm going to stay here. And, you know, I'm happy.
What's your overall record now?
Oh, it's great. It's actually really, really dang good.
14-7 will bump that thing up.
I'm 61-43 on the year.
Okay.
So obviously in the money, and I'm almost $200 up if I played 10 a week, which I've started to play a little bit more a week just to kind of balance my odds a little bit. So I don't know exactly my profit margin, but I'm up. I didn't overbet to where a 61-43 record actually hindered my overall profit margin. But looking at college football this week, this is conference championship week. It's a big week for a lot of teams. For starters, you have the Big 12 championship game, TCU and K-State at 11 a.m. Oh, you know what? Friday is Utah against USC, rematch. This is the Pac-12 championship game at 7 o'clock on Fox. USC is only 2.5-point favorites right now listed on ESPN. USC just made their way into the college football playoff rankings at number 4. They have to win this game, no matter what. If they want to make the college football playoff, they have to win. And the way Caleb Williams is playing, there's no way Utah gets the better of him again. They lost earlier this year. I believe the score was like 44-41 or 47-44. It was a 3-point difference. And you can expect this game to be close because USC, well, let's just, not even USC. Lincoln Riley teams aren't built on good defense. They're built on great quarterback play. And that's just historically what's been the case. You go back in time, you look at Lincoln Riley and Kyler Murray, Lincoln Riley and Jalen Hurts, Lincoln Riley and Baker Mayfield. Like, you just go back in time. It's built on good quarterbacks. That's Caleb Williams. And USC is playing for a spot in the college football playoff. They won't lose. Take the line. -2.5. If you can get it at that, that is an absolute lock in my opinion. Utah has been struggling as of late. If I go back and look at their overall schedule, which I haven't because I don't need to. I don't even want to know what the Utes did, but I'm going to just for you. And lately, Utah got a win over Oregon. No, they lost to Oregon. I'm sorry. By 3 points. Oregon just, I can't believe Oregon lost to Oregon State and then didn't make their way into the Pac-12 championship because of it. But they did beat Colorado, not a good football team. They beat Stanford, not a good football team this year. They beat Arizona, also not as good of a football team this year. And they beat Washington State. That's the better of the teams back in October, and that was 21-17. Utah doesn't impress me. Caleb Williams and USC does. Watch Caleb Williams play. I'm telling you, he emulates a lot of what Patrick Mahomes looks like in the NFL right now. The way that he moves, at least my co-host on Coffee and Cream in the Morning says that Caleb Williams has a better arm than Mahomes. I'm not going to go that far yet. I think Mahomes is a deep ball thrower. And you know what? Let's line him up on the goal line and have him throw a football, and we'll see who has the stronger arm eventually. But in this game, take Caleb Williams on Friday. Now let's move into Saturday. K-State against TCU. Another team that has to win. I know TCU is 12-0, and they could afford a loss, but think about this. Now, if TCU loses, what happens with Ohio State? What happens with Alabama? Who moves up? Does TCU stay at 12-1 if USC wins, Michigan wins, and Georgia wins? USC moves up to 3. Does TCU drop to 4, or do they go to 5 and you move up Ohio State? Because Ohio State also has 1 loss. It's not like they're a 2-loss team. They just didn't play in a conference championship game.
And they lost to a great team.
And they lost to the team one spot behind them in the rankings. TCU in this case would lose to 10th ranked K-State, a 9-3 team. Now, don't sleep on TCU because a lot of people haven't really bought into the TCU hype still, and they are 12-0. Look, I know they play in the Big 12, and it's not the powerhouse conference of the SEC or the Big 10 or even the Pac-12 today, but these are the teams that TCU had to beat in order to be in this position. At least, let's go back 3 weeks. They beat Iowa State. And they not only beat Iowa State, they destroyed Iowa State 62-14. That line, Troy, if I can remember, was close. Like, I don't think it was anything greater than 6.5. And they stomped on them. Week before that, they beat a Baylor team that just came off of a high the week before. Baylor Bears' schedule, as I jump over to that, Baylor
choked
beat
that
Oklahoma.
game too.
They beat Oklahoma November 5th. And Oklahoma, I know they're not a great team this year, but they're a good team. Oklahoma's not a poor team. And Baylor could have won that football game. TCU with a weird play call to kick a field goal and not have a timeout at the buzzer and rush it. I mean, talk about grapes. And you know, I use the grape analogy too because they're a purple team. But talk about grapes to do a play like that. I just don't understand the knowledge behind that. But I look at TCU and think you have to win to stay in the college football playoff too. I'm taking TCU with the points here as well. And TCU's 2.5-point favorites. Anytime you can get a team that's below the key number, take it. Because you don't have to buy points.
Basically the money line. 2.5 is basically money line.
I know they won by just 1 point against Baylor. And I actually took Baylor +3. So thankfully I did that.
Insane.
But aside from that, TCU, I would take them to win by a field goal in this game. I also don't know the status of Adrian Martinez. I didn't look too deep into that. I'm trusting the process here when it comes to betting on games that teams have to win in order to put themselves in a position to play even further and for a national title. You look at LSU, you look at Georgia. That game's interesting to me, but Georgia being 17.5-point favorites, I just don't know what LSU team I'm going to get.
It's a lot of points.
So I'm going to avoid this game because Georgia could either put up 30 or like they did against Georgia Tech last week, they didn't score a lot of points until later on in that football game. So I'll avoid this game altogether, but if you want to bet this game, obviously take Georgia. I mean, LSU hasn't been playing fantastic football, but remember, Georgia only beat Kentucky 16-6 just 2 weeks ago. And like I said, they beat Georgia Tech, but 27 of their points in that game came in the second half. It was 10-7 at halftime. Just keep that in mind. Georgia's a great football team. I think they're going to win the national championship. But also look at the way that they're trending right now. And again, LSU, they could either win this game, put up a really good fight, or lose by 30. There's no in between there. It's too dicey of territory for me to take. Now, this game interests me. UCF against Tulane. So Tulane's kind of been my team this year. And just, I think it was 3 weeks ago, UCF beat Tulane 38-31 in Tulane. But then they followed that week up by losing to Navy 17-14. And UCF, I believe, they were like 15.5-point favorites in this game, and they ended up losing by 3. So, yes, it really does depend on what John Reese Plumlee you're going to get. John Reese Plumlee, of course, the quarterback for UCF. There's a reason they're 8-2. He's very good through the air. He's very good on the ground. He has a stat line that comes out similar to Jalen Hurts every week. What Plumlee are you going to get, and what UCF defense are you going to get? Now, the Green Wave, they're trying their best to secure one of their best seasons in history. You look at where they're at right now, they're 18th ranked on the year, 8-2 as well. And plus, they lost by 7 to the Knights already once this year. Does it happen twice? That I don't think so. I don't think it happens twice, but Tulane is also -4 in this game. I'm taking UCF. I'm taking UCF +4. Give me UCF at least to lose by a field goal. I know it was separated by a touchdown, but if they already won this game already, Give me the team that won. I'm taking UCF in that game. As we look at the other two games on Saturday, you get Purdue, Michigan, which this one, another heavy point spread, 17 points for Michigan. This is a team like Georgia. I don't know what Michigan team I'm going to get, but they just whopped Ohio State by 21. So you can't really say that Michigan won't cover this game by 17. But Purdue, and my heart and Troy's heart goes out to Aiden O'Connell and his family, and also the Purdue football program. But Aiden O'Connell lost his older brother just last week. And he's going to play on Saturday. And as 17-point favorites, I think the line has shifted. I think it went to 15. But as either 15 or 17-point favorites, you cannot tell me that the story here with Aiden O'Connell laying it all out on the line, coming back from his brother's funeral, probably putting this game in his name, won't put up a magical performance. You just won't. I'm all for the story. I love a good story. If anything, I may just bet Purdue here solely because of that story. And wasn't it just a couple of years ago that Purdue beat Ohio State in football, and it was for the kid that was like dying of cancer or had leukemia or something like that? I can't remember his initial disease. Wasn't it Purdue that happened there too? Dude, I'm telling you, man, I like to back stories like this. I really feel for Aiden O'Connell here. Again, my condolences to him and his family. But in this football game, if he's going to play, sheesh, I'm going to root for him.
Michigan doesn't. They don't care to cover. They just got to win.
They just have to win.
3-10, they don't give a shit.
So
they will not care.
I look at this game and I may take Purdue just because of that story. I won't parlay it in anything. That'll be a solo bet, but I may take Purdue.
17 points. That's a shit ton of points.
Another team that hasn't impressed me a lot this year is Clemson, playing in the ACC championship game against Troy's Notre Dame Tar Heels. Now,
Drake.
Last thing I want to mention here, Troy, is North Carolina. Did I say Notre Dame Tar Heels? I think I did. North Carolina Tar Heels. Sorry. I don't remember what I said, but if I did say that, I apologize. UNC hasn't been great either. They lost to Georgia Tech, and that is embarrassing. Georgia Tech on the season 5-6. Not a loss North Carolina could have taken.
What was that with Georgia? 10-7 at half?
It was 10-7 at half, but also Georgia did end up winning that football game 37-14. And then you lose to an unranked NC State team that was ranked for most of the year, but North Carolina shouldn't have lost that game either. That win, of course, coming in overtime for NC State.
Man. I guess. I mean, dude, they had a plan for everything.
But Drake May lost his Heisman hopes too, losing to Georgia Tech and to NC State. Like, he's nowhere to be found anymore. And I like Drake May. Drake May has had a fantastic season, but
one more.
Kind of like Josh Allen. That UNC offense goes as Drake May goes. And if he has a fantastic football game, UNC just defensively has to lock down. They have to lock down. And
dude, they played great against NC State. The offense could not move the ball. The fact that UNC had a shot to win that game is 100% on the defense. 100%.
Yeah, it's really tough to know what Tar Heel team you'll get, but it's also hard to know if you're going to get the best Clemson quarterback out there or if you're going to get the one that got benched against Syracuse. I don't know. Yep. DJ, what are you showing for me?
The UNC money line, it's going to be juicy.
Yeah, it's interesting as I think about this game
are the championship games at a neutral site?
They are. So I know the Big Ten championship games at Lucas Oil Stadium. I'm not sure where the other games are.
I just didn't know if.
But they are at a neutral site. That's kind of how it always works. Just for argument's sake for you, so that you know where your Tar Heels are playing. I'm going to look it up here. It's in ACC's championship game for the second time, Saturday in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Ooh. Is that where the Panthers play?
I would assume so. I can't imagine that it's not.
Let's go look. It says it on ESPN. It says Blooming. Oh no.
Bank of America Stadium. So yeah.
Yeah.
Bank of America Stadium, and then UCF and Tulane are at Yulman Stadium, and that's in New Orleans. Is that? But that's not Mercedes-Benz, or did it change? What is Yulman?
It's still Mercedes-Benz, isn't it? Mercedes-Benz is Atlanta, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's also that was the same in
Wow.
Yulman is at Tulane. That's Tulane hosting this game, so that's weird. So maybe because it's the AAC championship, that's the case. Because yes, Georgia is playing at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which is where the Falcons play, and K-State and TCU are playing at AT&T Stadium. That's where the Cowboys play. And then Utah and USC are playing at Allegiant, which is the Rams' new stadium, as well as the Chargers,
cool.
right? So I guess just because they're the AAC, they're playing at Tulane. That's kind of weird to me. I don't know why you wouldn't just place them. And, if you're going to play a game in New Orleans, why don't you just move to Houston and play that in Houston?
Right.
I don't know. Or play it at Mercedes-Benz if you're in New Orleans. Nobody else is playing there. So, weird. Okay, anyway, we'll move on from college football. You like my plays. If you like my plays, go ahead and play those. Again, I'm 61-43 on the season, and that's pretty good. That's my best record ever betting college football. On to tonight, if it was Saturday, on to Saturday night. UFC, Troy, back in business.
We're back.
Let's go.
There's a couple, there's just 2 weekends in a row, low-key cards, but going to be some great fights. You probably even know this guy, the Tai Tuivasa dude, the guy that when he wins, he drinks out of a shoe.
Yes, I do.
A disgusting shoe.
Yep. Isn't it just a random fan shoe, too?
I'm not sure. He definitely has done that, but they just toss his ass a shoe. I don't know whose it is.
Fair.
It's disgusting, but he's a demon. Yeah, he's facing this. I'm going to be honest. I don't know much about the other guy. He's 16-1. I mean, all I love is that Tai Tuivasa is plus 180.
Wow.
And that guy has beaten some good guys. He has battled with some good guys. He continues to get better. So that plus 180 is fantastic. So I'm going to start the night. He's the first fight that I'm going to start with. I'm going to go Tuivasa money line. And then it doesn't get extremely interesting until the main fight. But the fight before that is this Barberena dude. And then I know Rafael Dos Anjos. But Dos Anjos is 100 years old. And the Brian, he's not much younger. So I'm going to take that fight to not go the distance. I think they'll get gassed. I think their big boys are going to be swinging. It's going to take one punch for one of those dudes to hit the canvas. So that fight does not go the distance. And then the Thompson-Kevin Holland fight, they call him Wonder Boy. He's also ancient, almost 40 years old. Kevin Holland, love him. Love watching this fight. Love his swagger. So I'm going to go Kevin Holland money line. So Tai Tuivasa, the Dos Anjos fight to not go the distance, and then Kevin Holland. He's a beast.
Ride it. That's all I can say is ride it.
I love it. It's going to be a good card. Absolutely.
And then moving on to Sunday, more on the NFL slate. Troy's covering a lot of touchdowns here, but I want to touch on the teams themselves, the spreads, the over-unders, things like that.
Perfect.
So we'll start off with this. The Jets are a noon start against the Vikings. Minnesota -3. But the New York Jets are 4-1 ATS on the road this season. And this will be the 5th time as Kirk Cousins will face a low-scoring team, averaging less than 20 points per game. And Minnesota is 0-4 ATS against that type of line, that type of spread. So I'm going to take the Jets here. Plus the way Mike White played and how good that defense has been playing. I think Mike White can... Mike White can shred that defense. Any quarterback can shred that defense.
If Mac
you
Jones
could be
can,
productive
Mike
against
White
that
definitely
defense.
Can.
It's no doubt in my mind. Then you move on to Broncos-Ravens, and I mean, I don't even know what to talk. I don't even know what to say about Russell Wilson anymore. But the Ravens are 8.5-point favorites. That's above the key number, and that number's tough to see after watching the Ravens cough one up to Jacksonville last week. The Broncos have had leads of 10-0 3 different times this season. And they're now 0-3 in those games. So
wow,
that's pretty funny. And Russell Wilson's just not throwing touchdowns. Whenever he's above a TD underdog, he is 4-0 against the spread. Keep that in mind. But Russell Wilson, I mean, think about this. Those numbers most likely came when he was in Seattle, not in Denver. But when you look at the Ravens, Lamar Jackson as a 7-point favorite or higher, 22-4 straight up. Great, but he's also 12-14 against the spread. Denver's got a really good defense.
I mean, they always play down to their competition, man. Every single game.
And Lamar Jackson,
that doesn't surprise me.
Home game, right, for the Ravens. Yep, home game. He is 13-19 ATS at home. Not great. Not great. And you know, he's just 5-9 ATS after a straight-up loss. And 2-7 against the spread when that game is at home.
Wow.
I don't want to say avoid this game, but, you know, frankly, I know I just knocked Russell Wilson a lot, but maybe I trust Denver's defense just to cover. You know Lamar's going to win this game. Like I said, 22-4 straight up. But in this case, when you look at a line as big as 8.5, the over-under is 38.5. There's no way the Ravens win unless they go way over that total.
They're going to have to, yeah. I agree.
When I say win ATS.
Yeah, I'm 17-10. Something like that.
Wouldn't shock me. Now
20-13.
Moving over to Steelers-Falcons, this is Kenny Pickett against Marcus Mariota. Not great. But the over-under is set at 42. Over-under is set at 42. Teams after facing the Colts this season, which that's the Steelers, 10-1-1 against the spread in their next game.
Whoa.
The Falcons, after starting 6-0 ATS, are just 1-5. They've been trending in the wrong direction. And in this game, Atlanta's -1.
Wow.
I kind of like the Steelers here.
A little bit, yeah.
I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. I don't mind betting the Steelers straight up. But if you want to take ATS, I mean, what's +1 going to get you? A TCU Baylor score, and then you're going to push? Might as well bet the money line.
Right.
And then Titans-Eagles. Titans are 24-15 against the spread as an underdog under Mike Vrabel. They are 5.5-point dogs, by the way. I should touch on that. But, you know, the Eagles have been awesome. 10-1 so far this year? I mean, you can't go against that straight-up record. This is interesting. In the Eagles' last 11 home games, the over is 10-1. And it's going over by a total of 8.8 points per game.
Wow.
Tennessee's defense is horrific. Their secondary is brutal. I think Tennessee can put up points, too, against Philly. Philly's going to be...
Brown, revenge game?
Why not? 44.5, I'll take the over here. I really will.
I like that.
And there are a couple more games at one, a trio, I should say. But the one I'm paying closest attention to is Browns-Texans, because this is Deshaun Watson's first start for Cleveland.
Crazy how that works.
It is nuts.
It's insane.
But there's not a doubt in my mind that Deshaun Watson can help Cleveland cover by 7. Houston's just not a good football team. And Kyle Allen is starting. Look at the other noon games.
Those poor Texan fans.
Right. Look at the other noon games. I actually like the Commanders as a sleeper team down the stretch this year. They're playing the Giants. 2 really good defenses. 40.5 is that total. I kind of like Washington to take this game, and I like their spread at 2.5. Taylor Heineke, 11-2-1 ATS in his last 14 starts, and he's 7-0-1 ATS in his last 8 starts. Daniel Jones, on the other hand, 0-2 ATS in his next start after facing the Cowboys. So keep that in mind. And then one last game I want to touch on here is Jaguars-Lions. This one's a gross game. Really gross, in fact. But the Lions are at home. And what were you saying? Hammer the over?
Yeah, oh God, yeah.
Hammer the over. It is...
In every Lions game.
It is 51.5. 51.5. Now, the Lions after Thanksgiving since 2005, they've won 2 straight up and ATS. But they have been 14-13 straight up the week after Thanksgiving since 2005. So keep those numbers in mind. Don't really like this game. I'd avoid it. Troy, give me your slate for touchdowns at noon.
My running backs. I love the running backs at noon. I'm going to go Barkley, Nick Chubb, and Dalvin Cook. I think that those 3 are absolute locks. I haven't been on this guy's train all year. And every single game I watch, he scores first. I might throw Jamal Williams in there.
Why not,
that dude
man?
is just a lock
And
for
I don't
a
think
1-yard touchdown.
I don't think the value for DeAndre Swift's going anywhere anytime soon.
It's crazy.
It's stuck. I don't know why, but it's stuck.
Yeah, and I did not expect that. I thought Swift would come back and dominate those carries. That coaching staff loves Jamal Williams. They love him, and as they should. I mean, he plays with heart, passion, everything you need to be a running back. I'm not afraid to throw Jamal Williams in my parlay this week. I mean, he's just feasting. For the wide receivers, he didn't score last week. I'm going to go Christian Kirk. I'm going to go Garrett Wilson after the game he had with Mike White. His odds should still be great. I'm going to go Terry McLaurin. He's been kind of quiet in the touchdown aspect. And then A.J. Brown, revenge game.
I really like that Christian Kirk play. However, Zay Jones has been going off lately. And he's had 24 targets.
We made him look like Randy Moss.
Yeah, but he's had 24 targets over the last 2 weeks. And, he's been productive.
I don't hate Zay Jones. I love him. We loved him coming out of college.
Yeah, he was great in the Senior Bowl, and that's kind of where we fell in love with him. I forgot about this game. I don't know why I'm a Bears fan, but Packers-Bears play at noon. But the reason I forgot about it is Justin Fields probably won't play. And Aaron Rodgers, who knows if he's playing. So you may get Jordan Love and Trevor Siemian in this game. I'd still bet the Packers at 4.5, regardless of what it is. The Bears just overall, I don't even know if they're going to try to be competitive anymore down the stretch of the season because they've locked up the second overall pick at this point.
Yeah, which is Will Anderson. Come here.
And not even just Will Anderson, but at the time, I really liked that offensive lineman out of Penn State, that Fashanu kid, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. But he retracted his NFL draft status and said, "I'm gonna go back to school for another year."
I remember you telling me that.
So Will Anderson is just an absolute lock for me now. Will Anderson, if defensive players won the Heisman more, he could have won the Heisman this year.
They should give one to each. I mean, there should be an offensive Heisman and a defensive Heisman, in my opinion. Well, you don't have to call it the Heisman, call it something else.
Well, and the
fact that one defenseman's won it, come on.
And not only that, dude, it's just a quarterback award, man. It's like the NFL MVP.
100%.
It's just like the NFL MVP. It's hard to get excited about the Heisman Trophy ceremony nowadays because you see 3 quarterbacks sitting down there.
Yep.
And you know who's going to win? It's the team that is leading the country in something. Or in this case, everybody knows Caleb Williams right now is going to win. He's like minus 30,000 right now.
Lock.
So,
yeah.
I mean, no one's going to bet that either.
They should do both. Give one to the defense.
I'm with you.
Those guys work just as hard.
And they get screwed. They honestly get screwed because in college, offenses are run through the quarterback position. I mean, you could even argue that in the NFL. That NFL teams are run through the quarterback position.
Well, the NFL has 2 different awards.
Yeah, but
besides MVP, but they have offensive and defense. Yeah. That's how I see the Heisman kind of.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I don't mind that. Or you know what, dude? I'm not about giving trophies out to everybody because I don't think it's warranted to have participation trophies. But in this case, like you're talking about 3 of the best players in the nation. Whether it's the NFL or whether it's college football especially, there are so many more colleges than there are NFL teams. You look at what about doing instead of a Heisman, or you can do the Heisman, and the Heisman will always end up being a freaking quarterback. But then, like you said, you do another offensive MVP and defensive MVP. Yeah. And I don't care if 2 quarterbacks win. Right? If there's another quarterback that happens deserving,
that's happened before.
Right? If there's another quarterback that's deserving, then give it to the quarterback. But I liked Blake Corum a lot this year, the Michigan running back.
Oh my God!
He kind of got shafted because he got hurt in the latter part of these 2 games and just didn't have the production to keep moving. But I always bring up this point: when Jonathan Taylor was in college, he got screwed.
100%.
He got screwed. He put up 26 touchdowns and over 2,000 rushing yards. And he was matched up against Joe Burrow, who went for 5,600 yards and 60 touchdowns. Of course you're not going to win. Of course. But how about you give the Heisman to Joe Burrow because that's a Heisman caliber season, and then you give the offensive MVP to Jonathan Taylor.
I love it. And a lot of defensive guys get drafted before all these offensive players.
More often than not.
How is Walker going number 1 overall, but he's not even being talked about for an award? I just think that's crazy.
And not only that, dude, you bring up a great point there, because how many cornerbacks get drafted before offensive players? People desire corners in football.
Mm-hmm.
There were 2 that went in the top 4 last year? Sauce and Stingley?
Yep.
So, I'm completely there. We're on the same train. Let's move to the 3 o'clock slate, starting with Seahawks, Rams here. Seahawks, 7.5-point favorites. I wouldn't fade that. The Rams have been booty cheeks. Who knows who's starting? If Matt Stafford starts, maybe you can make a case for the Rams, but who is he throwing to at this point? Van Jefferson? Van Jefferson? And who's the
Atwell?
Other? Who's the other guy? Not Atwell.
Tutu Atwell.
Not him. It was the other the other
white guy.
Yeah, the other white wide receiver. What's his name?
It starts with an SH.
Yeah, you're right. I can't think of it.
Like Sherwoski or something like that.
Yeah, like Skakowski or Squitowski or something. Yeah, something like that. Let's just say we're taking the Seahawks here.
I would agree.
Geno Smith, 11-5 in his last 16 starts dating back to 2016 against the spread. And Kenneth Walker is the favorite to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Can you believe his odds opened at 25-1? I mean, if you would have snagged that, good for you.
I'd still take it. Minus, 180, 200? I'd still
minus 190. Yep, minus 190. Why not? Unless he gets hurt. At this point in the season, you only have, 4 weeks left, 5 weeks left of football? Well, I guess it could shift if he does, I hope he doesn't, but tear his ACL by a,
Only one that needs to go off is Garrett Wilson. I did that at the beginning of the year. We need Garrett Wilson.
And then Dolphins 49ers a little bit later. This game's interesting to me because you have one of the best offenses in football against one of the best defenses in football, and you never really know. You really never know what direction it's going to lean until you start this game. Right? And the 49ers are at home. Their defense plays fantastic football at home. Dolphins 16-4 straight up in their last 20 games. They are currently 4-point underdogs in this game. Believe that.
Wow.
14-point underdogs.
That's crazy.
And I like Miami's defense. I don't think they're a bad defense at all.
Especially with Chubb. Oh, my God.
And Tua against the NFC, 7-1 straight up. Keep that in mind. At +4, give me those underdog odds. Right?
Absolutely.
Give me those. And what, you're going up against Jimmy G? Oh, man, Jimmy G. Hey, how can the 49ers win a Super Bowl with Jimmy G? I don't think you can. But guess what? Jimmy G is 41-19 straight up in his first 60 starts with the 49ers. That's better than Steve Young and Joe Montana.
Unbelievable.
So, whatever direction you want to go here, I'll play the dog. I like the odds. I would take the Dolphins there. Chargers, Raiders. This one's interesting because how healthy are the Chargers? If they're healthy, they could easily make a late playoff push and be one of the more dangerous teams that have, 5 losses right now? Aren't they 6-5 at the moment? Meanwhile, the Raiders, again, a team that you never know what you're going to get. How nuts is it that Josh Jacobs still doesn't have his 5th option picked up, his 5th-year option picked up? I mean, that's insane. This dude's been a 1,000-yard rusher for this team, and he's probably an affordable running back. He doesn't seem like somebody that's going to demand a lot of money, and you're just pushing it off at this point? Last week, over 200 rushing yards.
Amazing how well players play on contract years.
Mm-hmm.
It's
but he's been doing that since he came into the league. Like I said, he's been a 1,000-yard rusher every year.
Absolutely.
What are the Raiders doing? Do you remember when the Bears traded for Khalil Mack and gave up all those first-round picks? From Josh Jacobs' year, I believe they had 5 first-round picks, something crazy like that. Do you know they didn't sign one to their 5th-year option? They didn't sign one.
I do remember seeing something on that, and it's just mind-blowing.
It's absolutely nuts. Now, under Brandon Staley, the Chargers are 11-4 to the over when the over-under is set under 50. 11-4 to the over. It's 50.5. So keep that in mind. 50 or more, they're 8-5 to the under. So if you're going to play an over-under here, I would take the over. But like I said, it depends on how healthy the Chargers are going into this matchup. Now, Derek Carr is 25-33 against the spread after a straight-up win in his career. Not great. But the overs are 14-6-1 at Allegiant Stadium. making the Raiders the second most profitable home team to the over since they moved to Vegas in 2020. So there you have the 3 o'clock slate. Oh, I'm sorry. I have one more. I always miss the last one. Chiefs-Bengals. This one's important. This is an important game for both teams. You have the 7-4 Bengals against the 9-2 Chiefs. 9-2 is the best record in the AFC currently. Chiefs are the favorites to win the Super Bowl over the Bills now, and that's the first time this season that's happened. They've won 5 consecutive games straight up, and the last time Mahomes played on a 5+ game winning streak was against the Bengals, and they lost in Cincinnati. And this game's also in Cincinnati, separated by 4 points. The Chiefs are -2 in this football game, but no Jamar Chase still, right? That's still...
They're saying he might come back.
Okay, so if that happens, maybe something's different
He was
here.
close this week. They're saying he should be ready to go.
Joe Burrow, 3-4 straight up and 4-3 as a home underdog in his career. He's 0-3 straight up and against the spread as a home underdog when the total is under a field goal. So I don't know the direction I'd go in this game. This game seems like a touchdown game for me. 52.5 is the over-under. I would expect a lot of balls to be caught in the end zone in painted grass for this game. But, Troy, who's going to be catching a lot of these touchdowns in the 3 o'clock slate?
I'm so glad you said catching because the wide receivers in this slate are fantastic. We're going to go DK Metcalf.
Woo! Love it.
Jalen Waddle, Travis Kelce, and Devontae Adams. I mean, that is bona fide.
So DK Metcalf is going to be the harder one to get, in my opinion, because he's got probably Jalen Ramsey on him most of the game. That over-under 41.5, but I like the Seahawks by more than 7.5. So I'm going to take them by scoring numerous touchdowns.
Great. And he's been also like McLaurin. They haven't scored in a couple weeks, I don't think.
Hey, great point. And also to add to that, to make your dreams come true, maybe one step further here, Troy. You look at the over-unders in the rest of the games, and they're all over 46, and the other two are over 50. So it's a good slate to be a wide receiver. Let's say that.
Absolutely.
Or to bet on a wide receiver. What about rushers?
I'm going to go Eckler, Christian McCaffrey, and Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, I have nothing else to say. I like those, all three. I need McCaffrey to start playing better. And now that Elijah Mitchell's out, thank goodness. Seriously, thank goodness, because what was Kyle Shanahan doing?
Remember when he went there, they kind of mentioned about him being in a committee, and we kind of laughed about it, and that's actually what's happening. It's insane.
Do you think at all that has hindered his stat lines when it comes to yards per carry? Because lately it's been like, I rush 9 times for 20 yards.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe, and it's kind of like, a running back's kind of like every other position. Like you need to get the carries to get into a groove. Mm-hmm. And I feel like they're not really letting Christian do that.
Not only that, I think he's also had a little bit of trouble going north-south with this new team.
That's fair.
He's been better in the receiving portion of the game.
Definitely.
But, they do so many different looks.
Jimmy G's check down city.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They do so many different looks, and then you see Debo coming on a jet sweep half of the time.
Going for 50.
Right. So all these different looks just don't really play into Christian McCaffrey's hands, but hopefully he finds himself in the end zone. Now, let's look at Sunday Night Football. It's Colts-Cowboys, and the Cowboys are 11-point favorites, but the over-under is 43.5. But the Dallas defense is the real deal.
Yeah, they are.
I still think that they are the best defense in the NFL. I really do. And somebody can argue me, that's fine, but start looking up the numbers and just notice how often the Cowboys get to the quarterback. They have so many quarterback hurries this year. They also have so many sacks this year. Matt Ryan and the Colts on short rest, and Ryan is 20-8 against the spread in his career on short rest. But in the last 20 years, he's only behind Phillip Rivers as the second most profitable QB against the spread on short rest. Is Matt Ryan still that guy? I don't know, because the Colts are 2-10 against the first half spread this season. You knew I had to say that because I love betting against them in the first half, and I made a lot of money off of them this season so far. But in this game, you're playing a Dallas defense, and I'm not trusting Matt Ryan's numbers. The Cowboys have won 6 of their last 8 games straight up after Thanksgiving, and when they were at home in the last 20 years, it's 4-0 straight up and 3-1 against the spread. Dak Prescott has been playing really good football as of late too. go with the Cowboys here. I don't even mind. I know this is something that I found out, no joke, from Frankie on Barstool, okay? He said anytime the spread is 9.5 or more, hit the under in the game. Because either a team's going to get up by so much and lay off the gas, or the game's going to be close because defenses are going to somehow, some way stand out.
Yeah.
So
that's fair. Absolutely.
This is something that, I look at the spread and it's I look at the over-under, it's 43.5. I may take the under because Frankie's 2-0 on the season doing that because he did that with the Bills and that ended up covering because they were 9.5 point favorites.
The Giants game, they were 10.5.
Yep. Sure were. So I like the under. What do you like on Sunday Night Football?
I got 3 touchdowns. I'm going to do the 2 running backs. I'm going to do Taylor. I'm going to do Zeke. Touchdowns. You can take their yards. I think Taylor's yards, they're a good defense. They're a great run defense, but they're like you said with all those guys that the offense runs through them. They will not move the ball unless they give the ball to Taylor. I think his 60 or 70 yards, even when they're down, is pretty safe. And then I'm going to throw in a wide receiver. If I had to pick, I'm going to pick CD. He got absolutely robbed of that touchdown on Thanksgiving. That man's toe was down. Then his heel hit.
Yeah, I don't know what a catch is anymore. I just really don't.
He's going to score. So Zeke, Jonathan Taylor, CD Lamb, lock him in.
And then we move into Monday Night Football. The last thing that we'll talk about on this show before we build a parlay. And it's going to be hard this week because we only have 2. So Troy, maybe think of 2 this week.
I already have. I got him locked in.
Great.
We're ready to go.
Fantastic. I'm happy. I should have probably laid that out for you too. But let's talk about this first. Saints, Bucks, weird game. I don't even know what to think because Andy Dalton has lost his last 10 starts straight up. And on top of that, he has struggled on primetime in his career. He's 6-20 straight up and 9-17 against the spread. Now that may say, hey, hammer the Bucks, right? But the Bucks, hey, guess what Tom Brady is on Monday Night Football? 19-8 straight up, 15-11-1 against the spread. Those are too close of numbers for me to get excited about. And in his last 16 games at nighttime, Brady is 7-9 straight up and 2-14 against the spread.
Under.
But the over-under is set at 40.5.
Oh, my God.
So I'm looking at this game, and I'm like, hey, guys, let's avoid. Let's avoid. Unless you're taking the Bucks team total under in this game because they are 10-1 on the season.
Under?
On the team total under. So you know how you look and you see they're supposed to score 26.5
points?
Yep.
Yeah.
You take the under in this game for the Bucks. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I don't think. Again, I think the Saints they've been shutting down Tom Brady since he got to the Bucks. I would love to see his stats against the Saints alone. So I'm going to do 2 for the Saints, 1 for the Bucks. I missed last week after riding him for 5 weeks. We're going Chris Godwin.
Love it.
I'm going to go Alvin Kamara. I know he's questionable. If he doesn't play, I would say, I don't know, maybe stay away because then it'll probably be Mark Ingram or Taysom Hill. Mm-hmm. Who knows? I think Chris Olave finds the end zone. So I would maybe stay safe and just do Godwin and Olave and then hope they just air it out a little bit more than they run it. But I don't really know Kamara's status. It says he's questionable, but I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, I haven't seen much on him either. But, I mean, even still, Kamara has just not been what he has been in late years. And, it's just because the Saints just don't have a good quarterback. And frankly, that hinders this team because when they give the ball to Kamara, teams are preparing for the run more than they're preparing for the pass. And Kamara's numbers just aren't there. They just really aren't. I don't know if he's not finding his holes anymore. I don't know if because he doesn't have Drew Brees throwing him the football, whether it's out wide or as a check down, as we talked about a lot, that Jimmy G does. I don't know if that's hindering his stats at all, but just things aren't going right for Kamara right now. I hope it's a get-right game. I really do because, he blew up one game this year. One game he blew up. Yep. And outside of that, he had maybe, 2 other good games. But, hey, we're 13 weeks into football, and he's only had 3 games. We're talking about a guy that was drafted in fantasy drafts in the first 2 rounds. Some may have even stretched to first round, but he was falling to the second round in most drafts. It's kind of shocking.
Because of the quarterback situation.
Yep, it really is. It really is shocking. Hey, let's build a parlay. Cue the music. Troy, kick us off.
So I'm going to do a safe one, and then since it's just me and you, I'm going to do a little bit better odds.
I love
I'm
that.
I
love that.
I'm going to go back to week 1 or week 2, I don't remember. I'm going to take Lamar over 1.5 passing touchdowns. I think that he's going to be pissed off after that win. The Broncos are ass. It's going to be two touchdown passes. That's what we're going, over 1.5. And then I'm feeling a Deshaun Jackson touchdown.
Deshaun Jackson?
Deshaun Jackson.
I heard you right.
60-yard bomb.
Same game parlay X for Troy.
We could do solo. We could
No.
do like you do a safe one, but I'm feeling over 1.5.
We're
and one of them is
combining
going to
this.
be a 50-yard bomb to Jackson.
This is a combination parlay ticket here, and I just hope that those. I don't know. Are those up yet? Are those props up yet for the Ravens?
You say yours, and I'll look them up.
Because I want to take somebody on Thursday Night Football. And if I can't, then I'm going to move to Friday because I know those props will be up on the Friday game. But on Thursday Night Football, Troy, Stephon Diggs, he's plus 110 to catch a touchdown.
Okay.
Plus 110. That's a juicy number for me. For a guy that gets into the end zone a hell of a lot.
Bill Belichick will shut him down, man.
I'm going to start there, and then I'm going to take USC -3 on Friday. That's what the line is shifted to. I'll still take 3, and I'll be okay with a push if it ends up being a push. But that's what I'll end up taking. Diggs plus 110 for the touchdown, and then -3. But, and I say but, because there's always a however in life. If those props aren't up yet, and you can't put Stephon Diggs in there, that is completely fine. Because I'm going to go back now onto the game that has the highest point total this week. And that, my friend, is the Chiefs and Bengals. And in that football game, I know Mahomes will throw a lot. I just don't want to trust Kelsey and his minus odds. I'm going to take, even if Jamar Chase plays, T. Higgins to catch a touchdown. That's who I will end up swapping Stephon Diggs with.
Okay.
Because I think Joey Buckets is going to have to throw the football to win this football game.
I like it.
But maybe Samaje Perine gets in again. Who knows? Is Joe Mixon playing?
Yeah, he's trending in the right direction.
So then I'm not worried about Perine anymore because Perine seemed to be the guy lately.
Crazy.
So there you have it. That's your parlay. Obviously, adjust if you can. Put Stephon Diggs in there, do it. If you can't because you can't get those totals yet for the Ravens, wait until Sunday, put T. Higgins in, but also add in USC -3. Now, if you can't get that either and you want to just wait till Sunday, just go with the Sunday ticket. That's fine too. We're building parlays on this show. That's what we do. It's big plays, bad days, and parlays. For Troy Aldridge, I'm Andrew Rogers. And that's it. Move on with your day. Have a great weekend. Win some money. We will see you next week.